Hey family, this is Lady Wisdom with the choices you make. You know, our destiny lies in the choices we make. Whatever the choices are that we make in life, we inherit the consequences of those choices, whether they're positive consequences or negative consequences, known of what might happen or even unknown. Either way, when we make a choice, we inherit the consequence of that choice. And therefore, the choices that we make will determine our destiny, where we wind up. We've heard it, some of us think before you speak and before you do. Choices that you make. Stay connected. My journey with Paula G across all platforms. And remember, the greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you speaking to yourself? Embrace the journey. Welcome to my journey with Paula G, where we are juggling this journey we call life while we're walking in the gifts and talents God has given us. I am your host, Paula G, and I'm so glad that you are with us for another episode. All of you, my journey embracers. If this is your first time being a journey embracer, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. You've had so many choices, yet you chose to tune in and join us. So thank you. My returning journey embracers, I hope each and every one of you are well. Thank you so much for continuing this season with me. I appreciate it. I really, really do. I also appreciate our underwriters because without our underwriting support, we would not be able to have the means to provide this programming. So we thank each and every one of you. And if you're interested in underwriting, you have a business, product, or service you're looking to gain exposure, you can email jerryroycelive@gmail.com or Paula at paulagvoice.com. Put underwriting opportunities in the subject line. We'll be sure to follow up. Also, make sure you like, share, subscribe across all social media platforms. Paula G Voice, my website, paulagvoice.com. I've got voiceover, radio, television, author, my books, contributing. I'm a contributing writer to Flourish Digital Magazine, and also mindset journey courses, unlocking that negative mindset, creating a new narrative so you can walk out your purpose and what it is that God has intended for you. So I hope you'll take advantage of some of those opportunities. Okay, so today I want to talk a little bit about networking and social media, and I'm especially speaking to my baby boomer brothers and sisters. And I want to start with a scripture, Matthew 5, verses 13 through 16. And this is teaching about salt and light. And I'll tell you all where I'm going with this. You are the salt of the earth, but what good is salt if it has lost its flavor? Can you make it salty again? It will be thrown out and trampled underfoot as worthless. You're the light of the world, like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. And then we move over to, what was the other one? Let me see, Philippians. Philippians 4, Philippians, I like saying that, Philippians 4 and 8. And now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. So, why did I share those particular scriptures? You have to be living under a rock. If you are not aware of and not understanding what the impact that social media has on our society today. Some some have, and I had to think because I got to choose my words carefully. We've gotten to the point where some rely on social media for their factual information. The influence of social media internationally is huge. It has changed lives for the better, it has changed lives for the worse. There are those who get on and just spew ugliness through their keyboard courage. They just spew out ugliness. And it's hurtful and harmful to others. A lot of our young people today are experiencing anxiety, they're experiencing uh, stress, they're experiencing depression because they're at a vulnerable age. They're trying to find themselves, they're trying to discover themselves. And their interaction, their social interaction for some may be limited to social media. We've become such a distant society. We're not necessarily gathering like we gathered before, talking to each other like we talked before, because everything is right here in the text, or everything is contactless. And especially for our young people coming up in a society where technology is our friend, so to speak, as opposed to having those human contacts, the influence on a young person's feeling about themselves, the influence that social media has on that is huge, and in some instances can be very detrimental. We have to be careful what we're putting out there. But in order to be careful about what we're putting out there, we have to understand how to use these things because they're here, they're probably not going anywhere. We've got to understand how to utilize these things. Social media can be a great thing. It can be a great thing. I know for myself, I've connected with people from my past via social media and have rekindled some relationships and rekindled some friendships. So it can be a wonderful thing, but it can also be a very detrimental thing as well. So, a few thoughts I have today in regard to networking and social media. Those of us who are Christians, those of us who have have God in our lives, those of us who are faith-based, that believe in a being higher than ourselves, how are we representing the light of Christ through social media? How are we one person in person, but another person on social media? How are we representing the light of Christ that resides within us? How are we representing ourselves on social media? Think about that for a moment. Because most of us have a social media, most of us utilize it. For me, I utilize it mostly for my branding. I've got radio, I've got television, I do modeling, I'm an author, I'm a contributing writer to Flourish Digital. So all of those platforms that I'm a part of, social media comes in very handy in sharing information and sharing some of the audio files that I have of encouragement, all of these different things. So when we're talking about being the light, we're talking about representing the God that dwells within us. How are we representing ourselves and how are we portraying ourselves via social media? And there are a variety of platforms. There are a variety of platforms. Those of us who are in the baby boomer stage, I encourage you, if you're not on social media, if you don't have social media, maybe you don't want it, and I understand that, but familiarize yourself because your grandchildren are on there and you want to kind of know and understand what it is that they're doing as well. So, as baby boomers, and that's going to be a whole nother conversation, some of us have come kicking and screaming into this new age of technology, and I get it because it's difficult sometimes. I know for me, a lot of times it's difficult to navigate some of these platforms, but we've got to be able to keep up with the times per se and understand how our world is changing, how our world is evolving, the tools that are now being utilized to communicate, and incorporate those tools into how we naturally communicate. as older seasoned adults. Yeah, I remember back when I was growing up, we had a telephone and you couldn't walk all over the house. You had the little cord, the little spirally cord to the phone, and you could only go so far. And if you missed a call, there wasn't any voicemail, you just missed it. We can go back to all that. And that is true. I remember those days too. We can reminisce. But we are now in a different season, and we've got to find a way to embrace the changes when it comes to communicating with, our family, our friends. How many times have you been in the same house with your children? You might be downstairs and they're upstairs, and instead of them coming down to ask a question or whatever it is, what are they doing? They're texting you. And this is crazy. Why are we texting? We in the same house. Anyway, I digress. We're going to take a break. When we come back on the flip side of the break, we're going to continue to talk a little bit more about networking, social media, and how we present ourselves to the public when we claim to be followers of Christ. If you're just joining us, this is My Journey with Paula G. I'm your host, Paula G. And we'll be back in a few moments.
Hello, I'm Coach Crystal Henry, and I'm here to share my story, not as a victim, but as a survivor of sexual assault. I remained silent in darkness, full of shame, doubt, uncertainty, and my mind was clouded about what to do. You should break your silence. Report it. The national hotline number is 1-800-656-HOPE. Healing is possible. I found my strength, and so can you. I'm Coach Crystal Henry. Connect with me at crystalhenry.net. Your voice matters, so let's break the silence together. Stand strong against sexual assault.
Welcome back to My Journey with Paula G, where we are juggling this journey called life while we're walking in the gifts and talents that God has given us. I am so appreciative that you have continued to embrace the journey. If you have a business product or service, you're looking to gain exposure in front of an audience, email jerryroycelive@gmail.com or Paula at paulagvoice.com. Put underwriting opportunities right there in the subject line. Please, please, please stay connected. Paula G Voice across all social media platforms. Okay, we were talking before the break, we were talking a bit about networking and social media, although most of the conversation was about social media, so we might discuss networking at a different time. But we were talking about networking and social media. We were talking about those of us who have a walk of faith. We have the light of Christ shining within us. How are we portraying that light on social media? How are we portraying ourselves on social media? Whether we realize it or not, we all have a brand. And for those of you who may not have heard the term brand, it refers to your reputation or your image. When you think of people like an Oprah Winfrey or a Tyler Perry or a Michelle Obama or a Leonardo DiCaprio, they all have a brand. When you think of them, you think of certain things based on the body of work that they've done. They all have a brand. We all have a brand. When we step outside of our homes, we have a brand. I remember the days when I was a military spouse, and I would have to remember that when I stepped out of my quarters, I had a brand, and my brand was that of a military spouse, specifically an officer's wife. So there's a certain way that I was expected to carry myself. So we all have a brand. So when we're looking to utilize social media, we should be doing so in a positive manner. It's not the place where we just vent and vomit all of our garbage and our baggage. We've got to think about, what it is that we're portraying, because whatever you put out there, it stays out there for eternity. It stays out there for eternity. Years later, you may have changed, or if you were spewing about someone you may be in a different space. That stuff stays out there. We have to keep that in mind when we're and be conscious about what it is that we're posting or what it is that we're are commenting on. So we all have a brand, and we have to think before we hit that key, that send, that comment, the reply, whatever it is. Someone upsets you, someone has posted something, someone has said something. Going to social media is not the place to vent, especially family business. That's not the place to vent your dirty laundry. And I know I sound like a parent, and I'm scolding, and I don't mean to, but so many people utilize it as a means of them just dumping all of their baggage, and that's not good. That's not good. So you got to think about what it is you're posting before you're posting, and understanding and knowing where it goes. There was a point in time, and I don't know if you're still able to do it not or not, where you could respond to or comment on a social media post via your email. And some people didn't realize that it would go straight to a social media platform. So, they might say something about somebody not having any intentions of it, going global or virtual, as they say. But because the information would transfer automatically to the social media, there it was for the world to see. So again, think before you post, wherever you're responding. Think before you post, and understand how that particular platform works. So you might have to watch some videos. It might be a learning curve as to how certain platforms work. Find which one is suitable for you. Find which one that is user friendly to you. Get on, watch some videos so you can educate yourself on how to properly utilize it. I mentioned before, we all have a brand. We all have a brand. We have to be mindful of what our brand is. I am known as Lady Wisdom. It was a term that was coined um, for me a few years back when I was doing a late night radio show with four other hosts who were a bit younger than I was. And as we were having these different conversations on the show, talking about different topics, they felt that I always shared my knowledge and wisdom from my senior year. So, earned this phrase or earned the title Lady Wisdom, Paula G Voice, Paula G. They all represent parts of me and parts of who I am. My radio, television, voiceover, lifestyle model, author, all of the different hats that I wear. When you hear Lady Wisdom, Paula G Voice, those are the things that you think of. So you got to think of your brand and what who it is that you desire others to know and understand about you. How will you represent yourself? Also, be mindful of who you attach yourself to. There are times on there where people are wanting to friend you that may not necessarily be in your circle. You may not necessarily have the same beliefs and so forth. So you have to be careful as to who you attach yourself to, because if you have other people that that are posting things that go totally against your morals or your values, some of that stuff sometimes can wind up on your what's called your feed. So you have to be very mindful of who you associate with and connect yourself with on social media, because that can go down a rabbit hole as well. There are a few things that I've learned in this process of dealing with social media, being on social media, being in the public eye, sending out a newsletter uh, once a week, being at live events, is that perception is people's reality. And you have to be aware of how you present yourself, because the perception is other people's reality, and how they perceive you is their reality. How and what is it that you want people to think about when they hear your name? How do you want to represent yourself? How do you want to be perceived? Answer those questions for yourself. then you can move forward and kind of operate in those lanes and therefore attract those people of which you desire to attract and will pour into you, feed into you, encourage you, and support you. Whew, I think we've come to the end of our journey once again. I appreciate you all joining us. Paula G Voice across all platforms. Please make sure you stay connected. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. If you go to my website, you can see the various journeys that I myself am on. And as we approach the threshold of our winter season of life, we find ourselves maybe on the threshold of retirement in a space where we have more free time and we can begin to explore some of those forgotten dreams that we had when we were younger. We're in a space now that we can begin to explore some of those things. So that is what I'm doing. I'm exploring those things. And like I said, I've got radio under my belt, television, active older adult lifestyle print model. Who knew? Author, writing your own book, developing some courses based on your experiences in life and the lessons that you learn and how others can take advantage of that as well. So thank you once again, our underwriters. Shout out to Jerry Voice Live, Positive Power 21. Make sure you check out the weekend channel at weekendchannel.tv. And remember, the greatest conversation you will ever have is the one that takes place in between your ears. What are you preaching to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? What are you speaking to yourself, not preaching to yourself? Is God a part of that conversation? And are you listening to his still small voice? Until next time, embrace the journey.
You're my
Hello, I'm Coach Crystal Henry, and I'm here to share my story, not as a victim, but as a survivor of sexual assault. I remained silent in darkness, full of shame, doubt, uncertainty, and my mind was clouded about what to do. You should break your silence. Report it. The national hotline number is 1-800-656-HOPE. Healing is possible. I found my strength, and so can you. I'm Coach Crystal Henry. Connect with me at crystalhenry.net. Your voice matters, so let's break the silence together. Stand strong against sexual assault.
Family, this is Paula G, aka Lady Wisdom, host of My Journey with Paula G. And I just want to share with you all that we are so excited because our reach is expanding. We are now presently in the Brooklyn, New York area, the Atlanta, Georgia area, the DMV, and we are growing. So if you're looking for exposure for your business, product, or service, you can reach out to jerryvoicelive@gmail.com or Paula at paulagvoice.com. Put underwriting opportunities in the subject line, and we'll be sure to follow up with you as we all continue to spread love, spread the word, and encourage each and every one of you to juggle this journey called life while we're walking in the gifts and the talents that God has given us. Until next time, embrace the journey.